Hello, hello. Sorry if you saw I did another live just a second ago, but I received some negative energy just beforehand and I was trying to respond to it, and I realized I don't have to respond to the negative energy. I love what everybody's going through, and it will not bring me down, no matter how demented people can be. So, in building ourselves up, the last few days I've been starting to look at what nurtures and feeds me. And had a beautiful conversation with a friend this morning where we talked about how we'd had to shed a whole bunch of people that we were unknowingly feeding, and they were kind of just enjoying the buffet. And there's been a lot of people that have friends that have passed through my life, and no anger or frustration or whatever, just they don't need to be in key, pivotal, vulnerable spots with me when they're not doing the same. And it's made me make a whole pile of choices lately of what I allow into my reality, and pruning friends list, different things the last little while. And I'm so happy I'm doing it, because I used to be part of all these like codependent communities where everybody said that they were spiritually aware and other things, but I felt afterwards that I was getting fed off of. I met some people, but there's a lot of people that with really closed energies, and I felt it was very one-sided, and I'm glad I'm now no longer part of them, and they kind of flow out of my life. So it also makes me understand what feeds me, and one of the things that feeds me is I love to share and be open in my energy with people, but that has to be with people that are in balance with me. You can get way out of balance really quickly if you have expectations or you want balance. I've actually moved a lot of what I share now to not worrying about balance anymore. The universe makes it up. But that being light and excited to people and sharing vulnerably feeds me. It shows me the depth of the character I have, the depth of who I am as a man and who I am as a person, the integrity that I have, the way I speak about myself, the way I respond to negative energies. Those all feed me. They show me and light me up. And then when I see somebody that's kind of at the same vibrational intensity or the same awareness level, it lights me up even more. That beautiful conversation I had with a friend this morning, we were just going back and forth and complimenting each other and talking about our experience. And there was no feeding or giving or leading on so that they'd love me or whatever. It was just pure love. So what are the things that feed you? Like, I know some people love massage therapy or Reiki or other things, or being a healer or teaching people or whatever. Teaching lights me up. Teaching from my experience, but not in, you have to be my student, but just, fuck, I found all this stuff hard fought. And if I'm a part of the universe and part of everyone, which I fully feel I am, I'm actually helping myself by sharing everything. And it's not about a fee or a client or any of that shit. And I think a lot of us have got taught that that's the way it's supposed to be. But when you give freely and you be of service, I'm helping myself in a way. And I don't take it as I'm taking from other people. I'm helping myself from the table. No, I'm helping myself. I'm doing the healing. I'm speaking vulnerably. I'm being open, and I'm open to reflection. I'm open to people seeing me and testing me afterwards. Like, once I share my vulnerability in my past, I would be afraid that that person would use that thing against me. But now my vulnerability is my strength. And it's like, if you want to attack me for the myriad of different things that I have wounds around or whatever, I actually look at that as an opportunity to grow, to less worry about what other people think or get validated from other people. And it feeds me in this way. Some people might call that like masochistic or very strange, but it feeds me because now I become aware of who I am, of what my limits are. And if we look at everything that we see as dark or whatever is testing us, we get opportunities every day to see who we are. And that light reflects back, and we see some shadow, and we see some things that maybe are a bit gritty or didn't feel good the first time, or misconceptions, or if we line up with other people that are at the same awareness, they'll point out our little insecurities, and we'll point them back, and we'll reflect for them and help them see who they are, or where maybe their story doesn't allow them to be that. So what feeds you? What nurtures you? What fills you up? And once you know what feeds you and fills you up and it makes you feel all gooey inside, what are you doing to get more of that? So in my world, just for examples, I do more lives like this. I did something very vulnerable. Yesterday, I was scared shitless to share my process, and I shared it. And I could care less what people think, because yeah, it's gritty and messy, but I'm going to tell you, by me being vulnerable and me sharing my gritty and vulnerable and saying it's a gift, it's going to trigger the fuck out of people sometimes, and that's okay. But it also feeds me to know there's nothing hiding inside, or there's nowhere left to hide. And that I'll sit with whatever part of me shows up each and every time and hold space for it and love it and defend it and stand proud and be happy and light. When sometimes it's ugly and messy and there shouldn't be light and it should be uncomfortable. But by knowing that part of myself, it doesn't sneak up on me, it doesn't scare me, it doesn't challenge me when I least expect it. And I'm a fuller and more fed and more nurtured person. But after a while, that nurturing is coming from me. It's not about having friends that validate me and say, hey, you're awesome, you're doing good, and all this kind of stuff. All of a sudden, it's like seeing it in how people interact with me, how my children are, how I respond to stuff that shows up that's maybe gritty. It gives me a chance. I said in my conversation this morning with that friend that all this struggle is actually us leaning into a polishing wheel. Have you ever seen a good polishing wheel where it's got like cloth on it or whatever, and then they put like a brass doorknob or stuff against it and they push it really hard against it and the thing's bouncing around and all this kind of stuff? That's us. We're leaning into that polishing wheel to soften ourselves, to be shined. And that's the nurturing, that's the feeding. If that shining leads you to leaning in more, into more power, into more accepting who you are, into loving yourself, that's the light you up. That's the fed. That's the feeding yourself. And now all of a sudden that feeding yourself is no longer from what people saying about you or what your Facebook profile says or how many likes or whatever. Your feeding now is, holy fuck, I handled that. That was pretty freaking amazing. And then you're going to be able to gauge who you are and what you are by the lightness of people that show up in your life, the experiences that show up in your life, the abundance that shows up. And then the magic starts to happen because you're no longer looking for love outside yourself or validation or other things. You're self-sourcing, feeding yourself, nurturing yourself. And then guess what? When you have that, you're going to start calling in people that do that for you, and you're going to do that for other people. And then this new model, new reality, new awareness starts to show up. And feeding is no longer about filling yourself with community and people before you love yourself. It becomes you loving yourself and then community forming around yourself and forming around those morals and those ways of seeing things and ethics and comfort with how you do things. And magic starts to happen at that point. This is the abundance, the bliss, the whatever. We start to see everything in our world is nudging us to a new awareness of who we are. And then once we accept that and we start to align with it, people show up that are the same. Instead of testing us and brushing against us and causing us discomfort or confusion, we now self-source. We now feed ourselves. We don't have to go to the supermarket. We don't have to bend over. We don't have to take things that we don't agree with. We don't have to give energy before we get energy, because we're coming from our energy. And then once we're at 100% and we're overflowing because we're feeding ourselves and doing things that unashamedly that make you feel good, then the magic happens. To me, the stuff that triggers other people but is true in my heart is the greatest gift I can ever share. And I'll get mixed energy back sometimes. It's okay. But that mixed energy back shows that I've still got something I'm looking at, or I have to just still line up with this is the path I'm taking, and then the magic starts to happen. So if you look at all the things that show up that aren't comfy and make you feel uncomfortable, you'll start to see that you're polishing yourself. And then once you understand what feeds you, then you do more of it. So feeding me is doing these posts, doing the lunch in the park thing, reaching out to people, talking to people more, trying to do lives with people and getting them out of their shell and out of their trigger and out of their discomfort. And it's magic. Sorry, I keep looking out the window. There's this girl that's learning to back up park, and she's done it about 8 times. It's hilarious. So, what are you doing? What's the first step to feed yourself? Maybe somebody's going crazy that's a good friend. Have a chat with them. Find a new way to interact. See what happens. Get out. Enjoy the nature. It's summer here in the North America. Go out. See the sun. Sit in the heat. Risk a sunburn. All those things. Go kayaking. Go have fun. Go to your edge. Do something that you've never done before. It's going to be magic. Another thing that nurtures me is massage. So I'm going for the first time in months to get a massage, because it makes my body feel good and it makes me feel de-stressed and comfortable and relaxed. And then the key is staying in that state afterwards. I'm going for a beautiful lunch, something that I love. It's all going to be amazing. So how are you feeding yourself? If you're stuck or you have problems with the idea of feeding yourself, put a note in the bottom. We'll talk about it. We'll get the group, give some suggestions. So I love you all. How are you feeding yourself? Do it. See you soon.